Last month, for anybody that wasn't here, was all about how to get into the clinch, essentially, versus different types of energies. And there's a lot of stuff that we didn't cover in terms of personal grabs, subject control types of things, standing submissions. There's a lot to the sort of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu self-defense curriculum. What I'm kind of interested in is the biggest possible moving parts, like more of some sort of assault. So we talked about the passive-aggressive situation where somebody's coming up to you and you're not sure if they're a problem, like you may not even know who they are, but you're not like squaring off to fight somebody. Or you could be in a crowd and before you know it, somebody's kind of there. And there are those situations, somebody's coming up to you, maybe the hair standing up on the back of your neck, but you're not sure of their intentions yet, so you don't want to just start swinging or assuming a aggressive posture, because that may be completely the wrong thing to do. Maybe, somebody recognized you, or somebody's a little bit drunk and obnoxious, but they're not a threat to you, so we talked about that and how to kind of be ready, but without being assertively postured, but without being aggressively postured, so you're not going to escalate. But you're also ready in case they change it up. Or if somebody's already gotten close to you before you kind of saw them coming, how to kind of be ready, so if it does spark off, you can intercept, successfully get to the clinch. Second part was dealing with the world star type of person who, like, they want to fight you, and you can't just kind of exit the situation. They're squaring off, but much harder to get a clinch nowadays with somebody who, even if they're not well trained, like they've seen enough UFC and worked out with their friends and fist fought their buddies in the backyard or something, to kind of like have some sort of boxing, kickboxing-esque posture and fight him. And in that case, we have to approach getting into the clinch a little bit differently, and the old kind of stomp and come in with your head way back could be a little problematic. So we've got those two. And then we finished up with just making sure, kind of like from taking an MMA template and moving it into self-defense considerations, high percentage, once we have the clinch, how to get somebody down without having to be a superior wrestler with years and years of wrestling experience or judo experience, and how to get somebody down based on how they resist you. Do you have both arms under? Do you have one arm under, one arm over, so on and so forth, okay? The types of tactics that will transcend gi, no gi, MMA, is the core delivery system is going to remain the same. As you guys, if you're part of SBG, you'll hear that over and over again because it is empirically true. And now we just have to be able to adapt our skill set to the environment, and in this case the environment is somebody can punch you in the face or grab you places and pull or poke or whatever, so that's what we need to do. Okay, first thing is, if somebody does start to take you down, I don't like to train people, Jake, can I grab you? I don't like to train people to get into this habit. When people are taken down instinctively, they immediately hold on to the aggressor, which is why even people who don't know what a guard is will pull guard, right? It's just, that wasn't an invention. That's something that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu refined, because you're on your back with somebody on top, and if you have that, they turned it into a game. But you'll see the guard and you'll see the mount all day long in fights with people who have no clue how to fight, right? It's just, once they're on the ground, these are instinctive positions. Wrap your legs around somebody, control them, and they'll be hitting each other. They may not have a lot of skill, but they'll use it. So a lot of times what happens is people immediately just hold on. And in Jake's last fight, you saw at one point he went for the takedown, got a nice trip, but his opponent kind of kicked in the air and they twisted, and Jake wound up getting reversed for a second. And the moment that he hit, instead of just hugging on and conceding, now I'm playing guard, he immediately got his underhook, got up, and reversed the position before the guy could even get settled. And that's perfect. Like, that's what we want to do. I only concede fighting off my back if I absolutely have to, but I'm not going to, so sport, we'll play on our back to develop our guard, right? I may start there sitting on my butt or laying on my back, but that's never a habit you want to have. You always want to say, if somebody isn't forcing you onto your back, you don't just do that, right? That's something you do to handicap yourself in training so you can develop that skill set. Not a habit, right? Everybody clear on that? So the moment that you're taken down, if somebody doesn't have absolute control over you, there is no reason for you to stay on your back. You fight for top, okay? So in here, Jake comes in, he takes me down somehow, right? The first thing I don't want to do is just hug on to him for dear life, if I can help it, because now I've conceded the position. So the first thing is, I want to develop a game where if I have any space, I'm immediately creating the scramble to stand, okay? And I want that to be like an instinctive, ingrained, you will not accept it. So yeah, you never concede, okay? So I wouldn't concede somebody taking with me where they have more control, okay? I don't concede somebody bringing me down to the mat and staying there, because even if you're confident one-on-one, who knows if somebody else is going to come along, if they have a friend you didn't see before or something like that, and now you're getting soccer kicked in the head, you go unconscious, and again, they can do whatever they want to do to you, right? Makes sense? So we want to be able to use the scramble. If they're going to fight me on my back, or if I'm going to fight on the back, it's because they absolutely have put me there and I have no choice, right? So the first thing is, we're going to break this down into simple components. Somebody takes you down, and depending on the angle and how they hit you and how deep into the takedown they got, before you kind of realize, you're going to wind up, if you hit on your back and they haven't come up from behind you or something, you're going to wind up on your back. They're in between your legs, they're hugging your legs, or you'd be in some sort of one leg in type of situation, which would be half guardish. Okay? And in all those cases, I want to have an answer, so I immediately, instinctively don't concede the position. Right? So the first one from here, if we go down, I'm going to assume that maybe Jake was able to come in and kind of tackle my legs. Okay, so we kind of start with this type of thing. Bull rush. Okay. Tackle. Right? It may not be like a great wrestling tackle. It could be that you were talking to your friend, and all of a sudden somebody who earlier in the night was drunk and was like, I don't like your face. And you're like, oh, no problem, man. Like, I'm cool. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, they've been eyeballing you, right, all night. And then you're talking to your friend, and all of a sudden, you're tackled, leg tackled. And now you got to deal with it, right? So if Jake comes in, tackles my legs, okay, this is hugging legs position. So as we hit, okay, the moment that I go down from here, I'm immediately moving his head offline. And you notice what I do from here all the time. Go ahead, hug. If I slow this down for a second, both of my hands go on one side of his head, whichever's the more accessible. Right now, see, I'm kind of rocked onto my right hip. So I'm going to use that, since that's the angle I'm already moving. I want his head here. So what I do is I move myself, make the connection to this side of his head, and then I lock my arms out. Okay? So I'm both guiding his head down and away from me, right? So if he tries to come back into me right now, he is blocked out by bone structure, not how big my muscles are in relation to him. Okay? Once I have 2-on-1 here and he's offline, I don't wait. I'm immediately coming up here like this. And if he lets go, I can easily stand up. Okay? If he holds on tight, like he's down there going, I'm gonna kill you, right? He holds on tight, he's got a death grip. What I need to do at this point before he circles around me, because he is hugging both of my legs, right, so he can pass, is I'm going to get my butt up in the air, because if I've lost my legs, the next line of defense is your hips. Okay, so I'm literally going to block him out with my hips and my butt. Okay. So as he starts to come into me at this point, I get up from here, and now I pull out, right? And I always come back to that technical stand up, and then I get my dukes back up. Okay, so we kind of come over here, so straight on, take it down, good. From here, I kind of landed on my left hip, now I go the other side. So I move myself until my arms lock out, and now from here, if he does stay hugged onto me and I can't exit my bottom leg right now, then I'm going to take a backstroke. Okay, you'll notice that if I come up here and he drives into me again, he may already pass me. So I backstroke my arm, and I build base. And if I feel like he's coming around right now, I get my butt up. So now he's got to kind of run into that and overtake me. And now I step back, and I don't remove this hand, you'll notice, until the very end when I can disengage safely. I want his head diagonal down and away from me, from where I step and where I stand, so that there's no way for him to connect, to re-engage. Okay, so that frame stays in place until the last second. Is that pretty clear? All right, let's go ahead. Just work that back and forth with your partners. So you just kind of stand there. You can even pretend like I'm having a nice conversation, right? Somebody comes in, they're just going to do a double leg, wrap around your legs, take you straight down. As you hit, I want you to be guided. So we can do the entry kind of slow. But as you guys go down, I want you already looking for the 2-on-1, okay? Make the connection, move your body, get the 2-on-1, down and away, and then you backstroke and build your base. Okay, everything from there becomes either technical stand-up if they're not holding you, or butt in the way, okay, butt barrier, and then you step out from here, and don't let the hand off the head until you're safe, okay? Let's go. Okay, for this one, let me pause here for a second, and the exact same thing, but let me just add a couple more elements to it. So the first thing is, if you, I'm going to do the takedown real quick. So if you're afraid of slamming your partner, that's cool of you. But what I'd rather do, instead of you kind of coming in like this and just sitting him down where I'm almost kind of pulling him into me to get the forward pressure, just start kind of low like this and then knock him over, right? So you get a little forward pressure. Because again, realize what's going to happen. If somebody is getting you down and you're a decent grappler with good sense of base, it's because they overpowered you or they caught you by surprise. So it would be forward motion. Nobody should be able to come in on you and just kind of like pull your legs out, right? Like they're tackling, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is, let's say you get the bigger, stronger guy, comes in, they've got a death grip on your legs, and once you've turned the corner, get your butt up. Now you're trying to pull that leg out, but they're like a little bit above your knees, they're kind of holding onto your thighs, and they're really strong, and you can't find that little window to pull out. Usually if somebody's face is mashed down, and you start to create that separation, most people you'll be able to get out at that point. But sometimes it's tough. So let me just give you one other option if you find that happens. Okay, so Jake takes me down. Good. So I get here, it's hugging on tight. Good. So he starts to come around. I build my base like this, and now I'm up here in this situation, right? He's really holding on, okay? So what I'm gonna do from here is basically come up, and I'm almost sitting on his shoulder as much as possible. Okay, so this hand is giving my support up here. I can start to get even like one leg out, like this, but then he's kind of got a death grip on the other one. This is very common, but I keep my frame, so I'm keeping his head down. So he's like this, he's separated. He's not just connecting his elbows to his rib cage right now. And then sit on his shoulder, keep his head down. In one motion, I fire this hand, my free hand, not to the near hip, but to the far hip. And I do that decisively. And then you pull out, okay? And once I get here, now it's good. I can either exit the situation, or I can start to hit him, beat him up a little bit, get myself to a better dominant position where I have many more options, okay? Anybody need to see that again? Good? All right, let's try it. So let me have you over here. Grab my legs. Okay. So once I've gotten up here, he's holding on tight. If he's got both of my knees trapped, even if I come up, throw my hand to the far side, all that's going to happen now is he's just going to knock me forward. So what I want you guys to understand right now is that you've stopped him from coming around by getting your butt up and making a wall, okay? But right now he's not disengaging from that to try and come up my body, which would give me the space to get out because I'm keeping his head controlled, right? He's committed to holding on to me. The good news is he's not hurting me right now. He's just committed to holding on to me. So I'm not going to rush this. But what you'll find is that you're going to need to break that connection that he has on me a little bit before you can do this move. So I'm just going to keep holding this from here. Let's say he's just got a death grip, kind of mashing his face into the floor of whatever kind we're on, right? and I start to work this thing out, but he's still holding on tight. And now from here, once I get up here, maybe he's still got me, right? He's still holding on really tight, clamoring for me. But now I'm at least out enough that I feel, okay, now I can kill that last leg. And from here, I'm not a fan of, it's great for sport jiu-jitsu. I'm not a fan of like, oh, he's got his back to me, so the first thing I do is try and jump hooks and stuff like that. No, you stay on top, okay? Much rather have the control here, because right now I can do what if I need to. Right? Even more important, I can get out of here. Okay? I can disengage from him. But if I want to hit, I have all day long to submit him or something. But right now, I can do like the old 8th degree black belt in Rio that you saw. I don't know if anybody's seen that video going around. It's been kind of viral in the jiu-jitsu community, but some guy tried to rob him on the street. So next thing you see is they got a video on him, and he's got full high mount on the guy and just slapping this young guy like until the police got there, slapping him silly. So I want you to have the opportunity to slap him silly if you need to, right? But make sure that you can also exit the situation, break that connection. Okay? So let's just try that a few more times, then we'll move on to the next one. So this time, as I go down, I'm going to have some sort of situation where he's kind of over one leg's outside. It may not be a textbook half guard situation, but it's going to mimic something like that, okay? So perfect example, if you come this way a little bit, is somebody kind of goes this, right? I know that's like sort of technical because I'm doing like kind of a windmill knee block type of thing, but it could happen. You just fall that way. It's only a few orientations because you have a couple legs and somebody's tackling you, and they can, be over one sector, this sector, or they're inside. That's about it, right? So let's do that real quick. But you're going to notice that the theme is going to be the same. Okay. So right now, this foot is on the mat. And I'm guiding his head down and away. So when I put this foot on the mat, that's there for my mobility. My leg is here, so balls of my feet are on the mat. My knee is up against Jake, giving me a little bit of control of where his body is. If you had somebody that had a little bit of training and all of a sudden they try and like leap over you or something, that leg is there to trap them. But the most important thing is, again, I want to break his connection to me. I don't want him to be cinched into me if possible, because then I do have to concede the position. So in the transition of me falling, okay, I'm doing this. Backstroke, step up, get the leg out, okay, and exit. All right? It's going to be very similar. So I showed that on this side. Then from here, so I hit. This foot is on the mat. The knee's up against him. And the first thing I do, okay, is move myself, if I need to, until my arms are straight. Backstroke. Pull the leg out. And again, I'm looking technical stand-up. When I do technical stand-up, I want to go not in the direction of his head, but in the direction of his shoulder. Okay? Standing diagonal away from where this is. So see how he's very separated from his grip on me and his head? That's key. That's what makes this whole thing work. So even if Jake's holding on to me really tight, I can still get up from here and exit. What essentially amounts to you getting taken down and you find that you can pull close guard, full guard, right? And we'll kind of go into that. So everybody should be seeing a theme here, and you'll see it again, right? In order of priority, there's a ton of stuff that I could do that could work. What I want to do, make it like drawing the biggest possible circle around these scenarios, is give you something that is a reliable, structurally and mechanically sound first line of defense that will be the closest thing to ensure you can get to a better position unless somebody absolutely has you locked down dead to rights. And that means break the connection. So creating a 2-on-1 frame, breaking the connection so they're kind of looking like this or looking like this, building a base without ever letting that frame go, and then starting to move yourself diagonal up and away from the head, right? The head is always separated from their body. Because what do I want for when we were doing body locks and things like that? What do I want? Okay, I want to collapse everything, break posture. okay? So I'm cinching the elbows, I'm bringing my hips to my hands, and I'm taking the hips away, breaking posture, right? We talked about that to get the takedown. So if somebody has essentially broken my posture, knocked me over, I want to immediately, before they can advance their position, do the exact opposite of what they're trying to achieve. I want to separate that. I want to break their connection, make it weak so I can get up and be in the safest possible position. So this time, just go here. So you're going to take it down and then wind up in a close guard. So lay it down here, okay? So as we hit, yes, I hold this head down, but I'm not just going to start doing this if I don't have to. As we hit from here, the first thing I'm doing is, you'll see my hands hold him down, right, just so he doesn't quickly posture up and start poking in the eye or punching me. But as I do this, watch. 1, 2, okay? So as we hit, my head is a little bit more off of Jake's right ear than his left ear, which is normal. So all I'm going to do from here, hold his head down momentarily, and I'm already moving myself, doing an oblique crunch, right? That's airplane motion, off to the side. And as I do that, my hand transitions, see this here, from on top of his head to here. And now, look, that's the transition. Okay? You're going to notice exactly the same thing. Foot is on the mat, close to my butt. Knee is not just out here, it's clamped onto him, so I can feel where his body is. This foot is still dangling out, but I still have a cinch. I let my closed guard go, but I'm still kind of cinched onto his body. But you'll notice 2-on-1 against the head. Now what do? Without bending my arm, back stroke. I advance here. So now my foot is on Jake's hip. So if he wants to come forward, he's stopped. Now when I'm ready, step up and away. Okay. Let's do that on the other side. So takes me down. From here, I move off. Okay, 2-on-1. So hand was on top of the head to make sure he can't posture up, but without a pause, as I'm hitting the ground, okay, I move off to the side. So from here, make sure I have this. His head is down and away. So my hands are on top of his head. He still should have a hard time coming up. So I'm kind of keeping him down, but I'm also keeping him away, making this weak. There's space between his ear and his shoulder right now. I come back and I advance to this point, right? Unless he completely lets go. He may still be holding on tight, right? If he lets go, I just stand up. But right now I'm assuming he's still trying to hold on to me because he feels me slipping away. It's just natural. He wanted to control you, he's still going to want to control you. So from here, I've got control on his body, my foot keeps him from advancing, and at the last instant, when I'm ready, I pull that back, and I stand up and away. Okay? Let's do it. 3 different orientations as you wind up getting dumped onto your back. It's essentially the same technique every time, right? Same order of sequence, just a slightly different placement of what my leg is doing, but it's the same, right? That's just to make it simple, and it works. Good example, Rob Fine, fights in the UFC. When I first started working with him, we went over this type of thing a lot, and this is all stuff that I, like I said, it transcends. Like, it's highly functional to keep you safe. You notice somebody has a very hard time hitting you from that position where their connection's broken, they're disengaged, and they're kind of separated, head down and away, for the same reasons, even though it's a combat environment, combat sports environment. This stuff works really well in an MMA, Valley Judo situation. And also this is all consistent with things that I do, even if I have a gi on. So it's just transcendent, just like the takedowns we did last month. They're all going to work well in any of those environments. Work even better if somebody isn't trained and just fasting. You just have to be able to close the distance confidently against somebody who isn't touching hands and grappling you, but is trying to hit you and knock you out, hurt you. Any questions so far? Okay. I'm going to go into a little bit more next time as we continue on our backs, but right now I want to just stay with this. So let's do an isolation round, and I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Just have your partner again kind of keep tackling you just kind of changing up the tackle a little bit so you can hit these different angles. But the main thing I want everybody to remember, so this is where now that we do isolation, right, that's progressive resistance, you're not just going crazy. The better that they're doing, the more you can hold on a little tighter, take them down a little quicker, things like that. But for you guys, just as a review, every single time you hit, no matter what, first thing you do is make connection to the head and move yourself if you need to, so that you can get as close to straight, either straight or as close to straight as possible. And then a little, so if I get this far, holding the head down and away, if I can't move myself anymore to lock out, then this is where I combine it with a little bit of hip. And now my arms are straight, okay? I backstroke, I don't just try and come up, okay? Because you notice what happens if I try and come up, I just broke my frame, right? I created a bend in the steel beam. So I stay here, I backstroke, and once I have the connection on the head, it stays constant. All bone structure. Build that base. Okay. From there, I start to work my leg out in all the different ways that we talked about. Okay. So that's every single time. Let's go. All right. Next, let's take a look at some takedown defense from the front. We've already gone on to talk about how to beat somebody with frames once they've kind of tackled your legs. Now, as we come up a little bit higher, somebody barreling into you, trying to take you down. I'm going to talk about how to use your hips to stuff the takedown and also simultaneously shoot an underhook. To do this, I'm going to have my student and one of our instructors at the gym, Jeff Perez. Jeff is currently ranked #1 in New England at 145 in mixed martial arts. He's got exceptional takedown defense, and the way that he breaks this down, I think you'll find very easy to learn and pick up, change your takedown defense game right away. This material also works equally well whether we're talking about sport jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts, or self-defense. So check it out.
So he's been talking a lot about the self-defense work, about your opponent coming in, and as I kind of said, he wanted to use the term self-defense, but as he was explaining to me what he was doing last Tuesday, I realized, what is that but MMA clinch work, essentially. You watch any MMA match, I don't care if you're watching the UFC, you're going to see an overhand, and you're going to see someone barrel into a cage. Why? Because it works. And you're going to see, as you get more technical, you see the smarter guys like Cain Velasquez, things like that. Similar technique with the hand to close the distance, but now they're getting that penetration in there. Even if they're not getting all the way between your legs, what you're seeing, Jake, if you don't mind, come here. What you're seeing is a lot of guys, and this is actually what Jake was working on for his last fight. You see guys getting smarter. They're getting tighter in their stances. They're in here. You even see it just for a jiu-jitsu match, is the way they're in here, lower bases, and even if they're not getting all the way down here for the penetration step, they're starting to get, okay, that's my level change. And that's kind of all you really need if you really break it down. You see it happen in wrestling all the time. The knee touch is like, that's awesome, you got so low. But if you don't need to get that low, you'll see people drive in. I do it all the time. I know when you guys are rolling, I see it. You'll see this happen all the time here. Grab the gi pants, people are fighting from there. Now, you watch Jake, what he immediately did, he grabbed over, right?
Yep.
Fastest way to get taken down. Coach Steve was kind of talking about it, and it was something that I've kind of done subconsciously, most likely because years of wrestling made it a habit for me without realizing, which is Jake was breaking down, he's going to be fighting a wrestler coming up. Good wrestler. So like, all right, how you kind of was breaking down, how are you always stopping the defense against the wall, the takedowns, how, you're being very lazy, almost lazy looking with it. And I'm realizing, and I kind of broke it down, I did some work, is I always have an underhook. Every single time I have an underhook. On top of it, I actually hit in on the initial impact. And that's a huge part of it. So what I've done, whether it be MMA, self-defense, or just for pure jiu-jitsu, is I've started recognizing, I started watching, there's actually a picture I kind of kept from the last fight because it was exactly this motion. Which is all I'm doing a lot of time when people start coming in for the shot, is instead of just initially sprawling, I actually meet them with my hip. And what I'm doing is I'm stopping their initial momentum. I'm not trying to stop it completely. I'm just trying to slow it down. If you think about it like, a police barricade or something, it's not meant to stop the car. It's meant to take it down to a more manageable speed for them to then handle the situation. So I kind of think of it that way. This is my initial speed bump to slow down that momentum of them coming in. The second thing that I started noticing I was doing is I constantly bring my hand in with my hip. So what typically happens is people hip in, they sprawl, and then they fight for an underhook. And this is a battle. Both people are now aware of it. He has momentum on his side. and now we're fighting. And I learned from wrestling, I guess, way back in the day to the point that I don't remember, it just became habit. As Coach Steve talks about reptilian brain, that every time somebody shoots, I'm here. So I just kind of bring the hand with the hip. And I started realizing I find that from all sorts of different positions. Is I just kind of find what's the path to least resistance of getting my hand in there. On the initial shot, it's just bringing with the hip. So I'm going to try to show that quickly, and then I'll kind of slow it down, break it into a few more parts, and we'll kind of break it into a few pieces. The full motion, so if Jake's just kind of shooting on me, is here. So as you can see, as his pressure's coming in, I'm in sprawl position, but I've actually hit him with my hips, and as he straightens up to try to take me to a wall, a cage, whatever it may be, I actually have a beautiful underhook that as he goes, I can redirect this momentum. And that's a lot of the time why I don't get pinned as much, is because as this comes in, I'm just turning with it, which means his force is now starting to go that way instead of through me. And I'm able to reverse it. I noticed I did it in my last fight where he went to drag me against the cage, and I immediately, my back started to touch the cage, and I just turned. And it was really easy. There was no muscle effort. I wasn't muscling him or anything like that. It was just simply his momentum mixed with I'm just not there anymore. And so one more time, I want to kind of show really slowly as he's in. I meet him with the hips. You actually see the impact because he's going nice and slow. One more time. As I'm meeting him with the hips, and I automatically have my hand all the way in. I don't need any more than the hand. Because depending on what happens from here, which we'll go into, I have crossface options. He really drives. I have a sprawl option. But the bottom line is that whole time, if he ever straightens up, or if I decide to get deep underneath, I already have this beat every single time. My hand's just chilling just on the inside. It doesn't even feel like a threat to him. He's not recognizing he's already lost the underhook game. And that's a big part of this. It's just, he's not letting them know that there's a fight. He doesn't know to fight it. Guess what? I win automatically. So what I want to kind of start off with real quick is I actually just want to start with the initial hit motion. Because people all the time, this is what you see in jiu-jitsu. Go ahead. And then Jake does that, and that wasn't nice. Thanks, Jake. You're getting it. All right. So what you see is that all the time is people give away. They think, oh, guillotine, or oh, this. Guess what? He shoots in and I do this properly. Guess what? I still have my guillotines. In fact, I'm in a lot better position to hit them and make it tighter. And if I don't get it, I can abandon to underhooks. So what I want to do is I want to kind of get out of the mentality of this. This is where everybody goes when someone grabs their legs. Or they try to back out here. Look, my feet are now further away than they were before. I don't have to go this way, and I have the same principle of my legs are further than you. Now I'm hipping into you and I'm killing your momentum on top of it. So what I want to start off with is him just coming in. Is just getting used to this. I'm just kind of hanging out with my hand. I don't want to overcomplicate it from here or anything just yet. He shoots in, I hip in. So what I want to warm up with is something just nice and easy. The other big thing I want to show with this, even though it's not part of what I just showed, is to make sure that we have a good partner, is how we're how Jake's coming in. So when he's doing it, it's all he's doing, it's a subtle level change. That's all we're really looking for right now. Heads up, so we're not in guillotine position. And you see the difference is when he didn't hip in, what happens? He has to give away, right? That's how all wrestlers finish a shot. It's not the initial grab, it's you have to start backstepping. And I'm going to be faster moving forward than you can backstep, and I'm going to cut an angle at some point. So I want to just start off with real slow, just hipping in, and having that, getting used to this hand, kind of coming in with the hip. It looks ridiculous, like an Elvis move or something. Just, I don't know what Elvis did, but that sounded like something like that. Does anybody have any questions? I know it's a simple technique, but it's one that literally has allowed me to have complete defensive wrestling game. That not even for MMA, that was my entire game when I wrestled for 10 years. Was stop their takedown, frustrate them, and make them pay for it. And if I have to use very little energy to do it, guess what? Wrestling days, you could have 10 matches in a day. So you have to be able to not just have good cardio, you have to be able to say, I'm not going to use a ton of energy. I have to be efficient, yet aggressive. That's how I used to do it all the time. So what I want to do is, does anybody have any questions on the pressure? Hip in, any of it? Awesome, let's try it. Ask a question again.
Okay, so it seems like there's like a hip forward, directly forward, which is really small range of motion, but more direct, like kind of like straightforward. And then there's like kind of like a hip twist, which has like a longer range of motion, which is like a swivel. Which way you seem?
So for me, it's going to depend on my reaction time. Honestly, a large part of it is how soon am I addressing and realizing this is happening? And the second part to that question is how much are they continuing to pressure in? And what I mean by that is if I have Jake here, so as he comes in to drive in, as I'm hipping in, keep driving. See, now I get longer. Now what I'm doing, even without my upper body, is I'm redirecting his motion just with my hips by making that turn. So even if you were to keep driving, and you'll see this in wrestling all the time when we go out of the ring. So the ring's only so big. I guarantee you've seen this, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So one guy comes, he just starts driving in. Go ahead. And that's a lot of the fight. And that's the same self-defense, and let some dudes bull rushing. You got some big guy like Steve coming at you, or Miles, just because they're scarier looking than the rest of us, coming after you at their bar, and they just want to bull tackle you. Cool. Just redirect. You're not really using any energy. I'm just taking my hip, and I'm pointing my hip in the direction I want him to go. He's attacking, I feel the pressure coming this way. Cool. I'll hip in. I just hip in that way, and I start redirecting him that way with just my hips. The hands are just an extra helper. You watch really high level wrestlers do it. They're looking like this as they're hipping in, and that's all they're doing. Watch Jordan Burroughs, any of those top wrestlers, national champ wrestlers. 90% of their takedown defense is their hips if you get past their head and their hands. Does that kind of answer your question?
It does, thank you.
So is there merit, so the hip that's being attacked, you gotta shoot for that under.
100%.
Is there merit for shooting for double unders there?
Always. But for right now, I like the single underhook sometimes better than I actually like the double underhook. So it is a good question, and here's why. So go ahead, you come in just as you were talking about. I mean here. If I have double underhooks, now I'm fighting you straight up right now, right? As anybody who's ever done the absolute division knows, that's not a very economic way of fighting against somebody. Yes, are we always doing the absolute division? No, but if we're talking about self-defense purposes, they can be any size, right? So I want something universal. Will I fight for that if I have my back pressed against the wall? Yes, because you can't drive me forward anymore. But I don't do it unless my back is kind of pressed up against the wall, or unless it's Steve versus a one-handed Logan. And I don't mean that because a two-handed Logan would make a difference. Because even with that, his size advantage, he's having to hope. He's not able to get underneath me. Both hook gets in, and at no point does he hit a trip. So there's other options of opening the game up. So I don't go double underhook unless I'm pressed up against the wall or I'm driving into you. And so what I have with the one underhook is, remember we were talking about redirection?
You have the angle.
Right. And if I want to, I can turn that into my takedowns. I love these kind of takedowns. We're here. I redirect. I can do takedowns from there. I can slide down to single legs because my arm's already underneath. So as I'm redirecting, I can do anything. I have the entire game now is open, and I'm in play. What was a bad position is now a neutral to my advantage position because he's disrupted in the middle of his attack. Does that make sense?
Yes.
These are all awesome questions. What I like to do is, does anybody have any other questions on this? All right, awesome. So next part I want to get into, Jake, come on out because it just fits perfectly. What was your question that you were starting to ask me when I beat your face with my forearm?
What if you don't get this on
This, right. So I'm in here and I don't have my underhook perfectly. This was something I used to love in wrestling. Crossface. Easiest thing ever is the best thing you can do is I disrupted his movement because my hips are in. Look where my forearm is. Right across his face. Sorry, Jake. I have my thumb up. You can see on this side. Notice I have an overhook on this side. So I'm starting to control his posture with my overhook. It's really, I almost can't help myself. It's part of just my personality. Every time I do that, I just want to walk away. It's kind of over that, and you just walk off. Because it feels really empowering, because that requires no effort, and a bigger guy, there's nothing you can do about it. So when I'm in here, and I've missed, I'm getting his head offline. Essentially, I'm doing a basic level jiu-jitsu technique of just getting the head offline, and I'm just going to use your dumb note, stay put. You think about what's happening, he's coming forward, I now have an overhook, so I'm putting weight down. Common jiu-jitsu, shoulders are down tilted. Shoulders are really tilted. He's either going to go over, and I could possibly actually get him to the mat, or he's going to release, back off, and I have the advantage to reshoot. Because he's stumbling backwards in order to get away from that pressure. And it doesn't matter how powerful the guy is. Really doesn't. As long as you have a good hip in, the crossface is going to hold every time. Because I don't think anybody's neck here is going to take a forearm and my entire body weight going that way. So a couple key details with this. I want to slow it down real quick. He comes in nice and slow. Notice I'm still here. I do kind of have an underhook. And that's the other big thing to me, which is you should always be able to get the underhook. This to me is like, I wasn't quick enough or I missed my opportunity. Now it's here. In my opinion, there's no, you're always going to get the underhook. If you drill this, you're always going to have it. For the argument's sake, let's say I miss both. Overhook, I'm redirecting his pressure one way. Now as I drive in, forearm to face, my thumb is facing up. Watch what I do with my hips. It's not just about the arm. I'm not going to be mean, so don't. I just hip in with my other hip. Literally all I'm doing is one hip fights, I have my overhook, I'm directing him that way. The other hip fights, I'm redirecting him back the other way. So if you think about pressure, he's coming this way, all of a sudden he's directed that way, and he's redirected back this way. This goes back to, for those of you here for my wrestling, what I was talking about, all I'm doing is I'm cutting little angles. We talked about the high crotch, angle 1, angle 2. Essentially that's what I'm doing right now. Angle 1, overhook, angle 2, he's back that way. So I've redirected him twice. And it works even better if he's giving me more pressure. Because all that means is his forearm turns into a really mean shot, but it's legal, right?
Yes.
100% legal. All right? Does anybody have any questions on the motions for any part of that?
Last week, just kind of running through a few more of the standing self-defense things. So back tackles. Have a good night. What I was saying, for those of you who weren't in class last time, is that if you have somebody come up behind you and tackle you, it's typically just that. People don't come up and they don't just grab you like this, right? In the static fashion you see sometimes. That's why some of these self-defense techniques that are proliferated are very kind of stagnant and unrealistic in a lot of cases. It's not that the techniques themselves don't work, it's sort of how they're trained. People are typically going to be driving into you, tackling you from the back, or they're going to come up behind you and grab you and start to, pull you backwards aggressively. But if their goal is to attack you, they're attacking, right? They don't just come up and hold you. So they can be over the arms, under the arms, or they can go for your neck. And that's kind of what we ran through, just some of the kind of old school types of self-defense for this, but ones that work. I just want to make sure you guys are training with a little bit of feel for impact. A lot of times you're kind of blindsided, and if you don't go down, you want to immediately, and obviously we hope we don't, but if you don't go down, you're immediately finding your base and going to your next best position, and then you can move from there. Okay, so if I grab Bob, first one we went over from here was if he comes up behind me and comes over my arms, okay? So he tackles me, good. And again, I want you to come into me a little bit. Okay, we're not gonna yeah, exactly. So I have to find my base from here, right? And the first thing you notice I do is I find my base, is I bring my arms up. And the reason for that is, if he comes down low here, traps me, he can kind of pick me up and dump me on my head, and I can't break my fall. So he isn't going for my neck, at least not at this moment. So I bring my arms up. Right now you notice his right leg's a little bit further back, so I'm just going to reach down, touch the inside of his knee and thigh area, and that's only to keep him from not circling with me as I make my next move, which is to step behind him. Okay, as I do this, I don't do a big reach. Okay, notice I'm not like making a big shift with my legs and trying to come here and thread his legs and trip him. I'm literally lowering my base, bringing my arms up, okay? Make sure I keep my balance so his impact doesn't knock me over. I touch, I step behind, and I drive back. And as we land, I move myself back onto his chest, okay? So once I'm here, okay, a lot of times people go, oh, you come down here like this, and then he reaches up and he grabs your neck and everything, right? So as we land, I let him take the brunt, okay? We're going down nice and easy right now. I'm not gonna kill him, but I land on him and I immediately back up here. Now I'm on his chest, so if he goes to try and grab me from here, it's not nearly as meaningful, right? I've attained a nice dominant position. I can control his arms, turn back into him. Okay, make sure you always turn towards the legs. Don't come in here like this and turn towards the head, because then he will have your back. And now from here, I have the option of getting up and taking off if I need to, scanning the environment, or I can stay down here and beat him up, have a conversation, so on and so forth. Okay. So, one more time. Comes up, grabs, a little bit of forward pressure. As you find your base, you're also making sure he doesn't improve his position. Reach down, touch, step behind, and I go backwards. Okay? And then I move myself back onto the chest. My head's still forward a little bit. I don't want to lean back like this. Okay? Centering myself on his chest, now I can turn back in. And I did mention last time, there is a version of this that you see a lot where as you step behind, use the axis of your hip to his hip. So instead of doing a big deadlift, you can just kind of pivot him up and throw him. And that is fine, that will work. But again, and if I know he's got friends coming or something, I might just want to do that just to kind of trough him on his head and see if I can get him to let go and run real quick. The only thing I noticed is that back step and just kind of falling into the dead space is such a strong trip that it works really, really well, very quickly, without a lot of things going wrong here, okay? And again, I'm assuming he's a live wire, so I want to have the highest percentage version of the move in most cases. So I find just block, step behind, and just take him down. Even if, as he hits the floor, right, you kind of slide up in the chest, you immediately get up. I just find that that is a little bit easier to pull off live when somebody's really trying to grab you, throw you around, okay? So let's try it. This time, they tackle you and wind up underneath your arms, okay, as opposed to over. So, cool. This one real quick. He was here last week. So, Bob comes in, all right. So again, the first thing that happened, I want you to don't full out tackle each other right now, but I do want you to kind of move each other because there's always that moment of, especially if I didn't see it coming, kind of like sucker tackled in here, that I have to first find my base. Okay, so find my base. Now what I want to do in here is immediately come with thumbs on top, and I'm going to try and hang on his grip as much as possible. So the straighter my arms are, great. The problem that people make here like this is that they bend forward, and this is where, you know, we already showed an easy takedown from back here, but even a strong guy can pick you up and everything. So what I want to do is go against his ability to kind of come in and lock my hips or my torso in as much as possible. So I'm going to use my body as a spacer. So as I grab in here, and this is really straight from wrestling, it's the best defense I've seen. I come in here, and now what I'm going to do is get my hips out and my head and shoulders back. So just opposite of what he wants to do, which is pull me in and then dump me on my back, okay, so, or on my head. So I'm coming like this, okay, so leaning back like this. What I want you guys to do is make sure as you do this, you don't keep your hips back like that, because he can actually just pull me straight down to the ground easy, right? So I want to actually get my hips driving up towards the ceiling and my shoulders, head going back into him like this. It's a lot of pressure on his grip, okay, even if he's really strong, because I have the opposing forces of weighting down on his grip, trying to straighten my arms, and at the same time, bringing my shoulders and hips as far apart as possible. Okay, so I'm kind of head fighting with him in here, making it very uncomfortable. Right as I feel he's about to go and release, I'm going to take my hand, shoot it back inside the thigh, and I'm going to leg drag him and take his back. And once I'm in here, we know our takedowns, okay? You don't have to go into them, but from last month. So, one more time, comes in, grabs, good. So first find my base, I'm immediately coming in here like this, okay? As soon as I feel him about to let go, I reach back inside, leg drag, so I kind of pull him past, and I come right in with my own grip. I'm owning his hips, my head's in the middle in case he tries to throw an elbow. My legs are lined up with his legs, okay, not in the middle, so he doesn't grab it, right? And then we've totally reversed the situation. Even if your opponent tried to pull you down from there, it's much harder when your hips are in extension like this than if you do everything else right but your hips are back. Then they just kind of pull you down. Even if you go down like this, you're kind of going down into almost like a wrestler's bridge position, which makes you much more hard to control. Okay? The last two I'm going to combine, and these are the neck grabs. So you can do both of these. Again, make sure, as we talked about last week, if you do the forward pressure, grabbing the neck, that you don't throw your partner here put their legs through the ceiling, okay? Because it could easily happen. We're just loading it and then letting it go. This is sort of like the old school, somebody grabs your neck, the judo throw. What I was saying last time is that if Bob goes for my neck, okay, and he's kind of coming forward, so all of a sudden I get this, right? I can just basically load him up, throw him over my shoulder, and the only thing to keep in mind from there is that, I mean, if he's really barreling into me, I could literally just hit and kind of make the connection here. He's grabbing me, I grab him, and I just load and go. But the other thing I want you to keep in mind is just that judo principle of when you load somebody, I need to take out their base with my base, right? I need my hips to move their hips out of the way so that I take over their center of gravity, I become their center of gravity, right? So sometimes if you kind of get knocked forward like this, and he's still there, as I go for my throw, I'm not going to do this, right? Because he may be kind of planted at that point. So all I need to do is basically just back into him a little bit, right? And now all of a sudden he comes up, my hips are a little bit lower, right? He's light, and now I can complete the throw. Okay, so it does depend. Somebody's just basically going, and grabbing you, you just go like that, they'll topple over. If they kind of run into you and they're grabbing you here, I actually will back up into them so that I overtake their hips with my hips, right? Then they become light, then I can throw. So just load them on that one. The second one, okay, we come in here, actually switch this way a little bit. Second one is he comes up and he starts pulling me backwards. So first thing is, okay, I don't want to get choked, so my hips always come in a defensive position. But from here, once I've attached myself to him and I've momentarily protected my neck, his position is always pretty much going to look like this, right? He's not going to have his right arm around my neck and his left leg forward. Mechanically, nobody's pulling you back like that. It just doesn't work. Okay, it's very awkward. People are going to do this naturally, just like they go, you know, like this to push a car. Okay. So from here, as he's pulling me back, I still have enough base, so I just come back and I put my leg behind his leg, and then watch. Not a big twist, because if I go here, he could clothesline me. But small steps, small stutter steps to keep my base and reverse this. So from here, he starts pulling me back, I step back. You notice what happens, I overtake his center of gravity. So now all of a sudden, he becomes the one who's leaning back and falling, and I wind up in a good position. Okay, so again, here, immediately looking to control his arms so he can't, you know, poke me, hit me, grab me anywhere. I can talk to him, I can hit, I can improve my position. All right, one more time. Grabs, pulls back. Okay, from here, shift, shift, shift. Right here's the tipping point. Now I have him. So if anything, all I need to do is a little bump with my shoulder. He trips, okay, and now we're good to go. Okay. Last two. Let's try those. So first thing, Jake is taking me down. We land in a heap. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do from here is make my decision. Am I making space or am I holding him in tight? If he's got me locked in pretty tight here, okay, maybe holding on to me, what have you, then I'm just going to lock him in tight, okay? If he kind of came down and we landed in a heap, you know, off at an angle or something, you know, if I have space, I'm immediately going to go back to the last lesson plan, which is build my base and get out. But if he's really in here deep on me, okay, I hold him down. As you guys have probably heard before, the worst place to be in here is in the middle zone. Middle zone is where, from here, reach my face. Good? See? Can't do it. We're going to show how there's opportunities for me to change this dynamic, but right now, even without Jake coming forward, again, reach my face. He reaches my face, cannot reach his face. Okay? Bad for me, and he's got gravity on his side. So if I reached up and hit Jake, okay, his head can move back, like boom, but if he hits me in my head bounces off the hard surface that he's taking me down on, right? So from here, not a good idea. So just like from the stand-up portion, in terms of distance management, the same rule applies. You'll hear this over and over again. You want to have a lot of distance, or you want to take all the distance away, all the way in or all the way out. Okay, so I either hold him in tight, or if I have space, right, I start to frame him away. So for right now, okay, we don't have gloves and I don't want anybody poked in the eye, so what we're going to do is just cup your hands together so your thumbs are with your hands, and we just kind of do some light slaps with each other that would signify either a dope slap or more commonly a punch. So from here, I'm holding Jake down, just kind of doing a palm-to-palm gable grip in here. Hold that head down. And I want to make sure that I'm nice and relaxed because I don't want to burn out too much energy. And I'm just ready to keep his posture down. And right now, if he wants to hit me with his head down, because it's going to be hard for him to get his head up, he's got to come around, okay? Exactly like that. And I'm ready for that, okay? So before I go into hitting him, let's just get comfortable down here, protecting ourselves. So from here, I'm just kind of pinched in with my elbows. As Jay goes to hit me, okay, I just come up, still holding the head down all the time. One hand is always committed to holding him down, and I just make a little shepherd's crook here. So from here, he comes to hit me, boom, I catch, and now I come inside. And anytime I can get an overhook, that's great. Before I can overhook him, okay, meaning wrapping over his arm, he swims that arm out. Okay, I'm just back in here again, catch. So just want your partner to kind of mix up hitting in here, okay, catch. Good. Can hit my body a little bit too, I'll take that. Okay, I'm not just going to take it if he just continues to wail on my ribs over and over and over again, right? But from here, if I keep you'll notice that if I keep my legs up high, like I'm doing a posture break, and hold his head down, that my ribs aren't quite as exposed if my elbows are down too. There's a little space he can still hit, okay, but he's doing, like he's kind of going in there, and then I can kind of catch it. If he swims his arm out, okay, just back in here again, right? So just kind of play that a little bit, nice and loose. And just boom, 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 boom. Left side, right side. Hold the head down. Now, for the guy who's hitting, anytime you feel your partner makes a mistake of letting go of your head, just come up. Let them know, okay, just created space. So just coming up like that will let your partner know to be wary. So no matter what you're doing in there, one hand is always committed. Whether I'm hitting or I'm trying to block my partner's punches from top, one hand's always committed to holding the head down. Anytime you let that go, they're up and they can be cracky. Okay? All right, so still on pure defense right now. When I'm not really improving my angles or any particular grips or anything, just holding the head down and just intercepting. One of the other things that's very common here that can happen, somebody doesn't have to, be a wrestler to ground and pound or something, is he may bring up one or both legs, okay? So he kind of loads up here because naturally, instinctively, you just feel like probably not that close unless you're going to stand there, right? So think of like driving in. Exactly. So yeah, so that type of thing, right? So go back down again. So if he wants to put a little bit of power into, say, his right arm, you're right-handed, right? Yep. Okay. A lot of times that leg kind of kicks up a little bit, like a kickstand, right? And now he feels like he can drive that in, right? So I'm still going to do the same thing. I still hold the head down. This one is going to be kind of feeling where his shoulder and arm is. So when I feel that arm comes back, okay, I'm ready to intercept. But the other thing, at any point that comes up, it's illegal now in MMA today. But if we're talking about self-defense, I don't care. Is you can heel stomp to the kidneys, liver area, right? From there, just like basically you come up high and you drop heavy, right? So up nice and high and loose, drop heavy, boom. Okay, just dead weight. Now if he brings up that leg, okay, from here, I can also, yeah, it sucks, go really slow. Like you can also bring that right into his knee or calf area. And you say like, oh, I can take that a lot in the calf. Like it is terrible to get hit in the calf. Thigh a little bit too, but I like that calf area because if you drop that heavy in, even light, like people already don't like that. I'm not going to stay out here for very long because I don't want him to think he can push that down. Okay, but while I'm in here, nice and relaxed, okay, just making sure I don't get hit in the head too hard, right? And I want to boom, boom, bam, right? Just start driving that in there. From here, it starts to get his mind off of what he wants to do to me, and it starts making him very uncomfortable about what I'm doing to him. Okay, so same thing. If now his head's down, he pikes up on both legs. Okay, from here, still holding down, right? So I can hit. Okay, come out here, dig that in. Okay, boom, dig that in. Coming here like this, right? Just making sure his head's down. Okay, he can try and hit me. Okay, again, anytime I can get an overhook going, is go ahead and to hit, right? Overhook. Okay, now I'm improving my position. Okay, so that's all I want you guys to do. Head down the whole time. Little interceptions. Okay, that little shepherd's crook motion with my arm. Catch, catch. Anytime I catch, if I can overhook before he swims his arm out, I'll do it. hug onto him. If you do get that from the bottom, then let go again. And just show super light heel kicks, back of the body. Again, can't do it in MMA, but in self-defense for sure. And also to the thigh and to the calf. Really be careful on those, like, because if you drop that down on your partner, back of their calf, they're gonna not like you anymore. Okay, so just kind of touch. All right, let's go. Where you're saying kind of like I'm holding here, and you go this hand, and then I intercept, and then I do this, and you can come up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that.
Right.
Okay, so if you come here for a second. Okay. So I'm doing this. Also notice I'm burying my head in here. Right. So if you go to hit, good. From here. That's it. So now I did let go of your head with both hands, but I do have the overhead.
Okay.
So I at least have that. Right? My head's kind of buried in here, away from the other one.
Okay.
Now, if you go to hit again with your right, I do this, but you pull your arm out really quick. Right, so we don't get it. Yeah, so swim it back inside. Good. Okay, now you go to the other one. Now I'm changing. And that's what we're going to go into next, is actually a little switching side to side. Right now we've just been doing like very, very basic rote movement on like hold the head down, catch, 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 maybe overhook, right? But I'm not having you guys change your angle or anything. That's just to be aware of the lines and how even if you're flat on your back, as long as you keep the head down, you can protect yourself and, you know, do some heel kicks and things like that to soften your partner up. Now as we start to move in there, I'm going to be more active. The main thing is I don't lose my cool and I don't tense up, right? So from here now, okay, I'm in here like this, Jake starts hitting. Now anytime I can go here, see the catch? What I'm trying to do, especially if he's not skilled, much easier, is every time I catch inside, this hand's still holding down, right? Is you're gonna see a little motion here where I kind of bring my leg up and see my leg kind of collapses his body and it feeds his arm to me. So I catch and then I do that. Everybody see it? Okay, turn to the side real quick. So we're in here, I'm doing this, goes to hit. Good. So I kind of bring my leg up and I catch and I feed it in. And now as I come down and pinch, okay, from here, now just my elbow pinching in, okay, I have a good bite on his arm, right? Now from here, I use the bite on his arm to turn it into an overhook. And I scoot at the same time. Okay, so let's just do that part one more time for this. Good, catch. See my knees kind of coming up as I catch instinctively. Feeding the arm to me, making it harder for him to swim it out. I pinch, and then without opening my legs so he can jump over, okay, I'm just going to put my foot down. See how this is still tight? Real quick, put my foot down, scoot, and overhook. And now I come back up. Now you guys see how I'm already starting to play slightly off my hip, right? Okay, so we're in here, okay, he's still trying to hit me. Scoot out a little bit more, and now I bring my foot in, always clamping down. Getting more and more of a base, okay? So let's show that from the other side. Do the same arm. This one here, good. So anytime I feel like I need to, I relock. Now look what this other arm's doing. It's immediately going from here, if he goes to hit, goes into that swan. Now look at the connection. Okay, see how I'm connecting that in there? Good. So my overhook becomes the posture control. If Jake tries to get up right now, okay, kind of holding him down by his shoulder with my overhook and this hand here, but now I'm making a connection. Okay, so he keeps trying to hit me. I'm kind of playing off like this. But what I'll do is, if I can, I'll get all the way to here. Okay, my foot goes in his hip. My overhook is still keeping his head down. And I'm in here like this, okay? And now what I do is I bring my knee heavy on the back of his shoulder. And I may get a few seconds here. I mean, ideally I get more, but I may even get a few seconds here where I'm playing off on the side, really have him kind of locked in with his head down. And now from here, I'm like, it's going to be a big motion for him to swim this arm out. If I see it, if he tries to get that arm out, I can easily intercept it. But from right here, now I can start to go boom, right? Or if I'm afraid I'm going to hit the back of his head, I just start slapping it. And from here, okay, raise the leg up, This is my favorite shot right here, okay? One knuckle driving right into his floating rib. Bam, bam. Well, what's gonna happen here is he's gonna go a little berserk, but probably, if he's smart, he's gonna square back up to me. I go to the other side when he does that. So I just use his motion driving into me to switch it to the other side. And I start building my base to the side. Now, one little detail, notice in here. When I get here like this, okay, I have the overhook. I get here and I start poking this through, is once I have this point, I do not want Jake to reach back with this arm and grab my foot. Okay, go ahead. If he grabs my foot, he can do what? Yeah, he can drive it down or stuff it in between his legs, okay? So once I grab here, I'm now keeping his arm from going back and grabbing. It's not just to intercept the punch anymore. Once I'm here, I'm actually holding on to it, okay? If he tries to yank it back, okay, I just keep it here, like this. And when I come up here, notice how I still hold on to it. Hold on to his wrist, hit, boom, boom, he squares back in, good. Back to it, okay, if I can. I'll just start moving immediately to the other side. Okay, building that base, building that base. Boom, boom. He goes to try and pull the arm out, I control it again. Okay. Notice I'm not in a big hurry to go for like an omoplata right here, because that is a position that's relatively easy for somebody to spaz and slip their arm out of. Okay, it's live wire, it's slippery. So instead, I want to kind of play the most control as possible, like keep his attack smothered, hit him, wear him down. If I take a submission in there, I want it to be a very, very high percentage submission, right? Something's either going to be a sweep that puts me on top, gives me his back so I can choke him out, or a submission that I'm like, I know, it's like 99% I'm going to finish this. No Hail Mary is like, oh, no omoplata, like, and then he pulls his arm out and starts punching me, right? And I'm in recovery. So one thing that's important, let me get on top first. Let's say you put this on here. So Bob's all the way out to the side, okay? One thing I don't want you guys to do, I feel very like he's got a lot of control over on this side. He's out on his hip. He's definitely got me weighted down so I can't power up out of this. What I don't want you guys to do, even if this foot is on the hip, or as it's on the hip, is to have the leg all the way on the mat. Okay? I want you to try and avoid that whenever possible. There may be like little moments or something, but in general, I want you to keep this knee pointed slightly up towards the ceiling while still staying out on your hip. And the reason for that is this. Look, even if he hasn't neglected his duty with this arm and kept me from coming back here, even if he's holding onto my arm and I can't bring it back, look, I just hug on here like this and watch. Now, somebody may not be technical enough to do that, but in the heat of the moment, I don't only think complete idiots or trained people. I think people are live wires and they figure stuff out, even if it's by happenstance, right? So from here, okay, I kind of squeeze myself into the foot position he has, and now real quick I step back and lose it, and now I'm driving through it, and I'm advancing into what's essentially half guard, right? So I want to prevent my partner from doing that. So from here, this is what it should look like. So I've got this out, I've climbed this leg up, okay, so I scoot out a little bit, and now I'm here, okay? So see, not here too much. Here I still haven't really gotten into a good enough angle to kind of let go with my arm and be able to hit. So I scoot out a little bit more, get here. Okay, I'm holding on. Now, knee still pointing up slightly, but I'm still out on my hip. Okay. Now when I disengage this, now I'm pretty good to go. Okay, so if you try and come into me, okay, my foot on the hip is stopping him. Can you reach back with this hand? No. Got that controlled. Okay, and this is keeping him pinned down. Try to pull your arm out. Good. I can feel it coming. So from here, okay, either big power slaps, or maybe I feel like I can get a nice shot to the softer tissue on the side of his face without hurting my knuckles. Okay, kind of look little raking shots here. If I want to hit the body, I just bring this up. Okay, so I get my foreleg out of the way, and boom, these are the big power shots that really make people unhappy. Okay, come back, punch him in the ear a little bit, right? So on and so forth, until he drives into me. Good. And then back to defense again, and I just keep working, okay? I'm really not in a hurry for these because, again, I want them to be very, very tight, very high percentage. So, so first one is feeding a triangle. And I'm going to take advantage of, in this case, my partner's lack of awareness of what they should be doing. Okay. So let's say that I've gotten in here, kind of working all the way out. Now Bob's smart, so he's doing what we talked about, right? And he's got his arm in like tight to my leg and everything like that. Let's say I get out here and he doesn't do that, right? And he's just like, ugh, like just like one of these guys, like down here I'm hitting him and he's just going, I'll kill you, right? That type of thing, right? Which it happens, right? So this makes it easy. This makes it much less technical. I can immediately go for a triangle, which is typically a surer bet for me to get into a triangle position than to go for a omoplata, especially if he's a real live wire, it's a street fight, something like that. So I can shoot the triangle, it's just I want to make sure I do it intelligently. Now some of you might be able to easily poke your leg through from here and make the adjustment. I want to assume that we have to do more with our hips because I may not have that flexibility, right? So I've got the posture control here. Once I feel that this lane is clear, I'm just going to point my knee all the way up to the ceiling and switch my hip. Okay, and I do that in one big motion. So watch what my head and hips do together. Okay. Right, so let me do that a little bit quicker. So I'm on my right hip. Okay, I'm quickly going to make a big switch, point my knee the opposite direction, and just swim my foreleg out. Okay, the whole time I'm making sure that his head stays down. Okay, so from here, so I do a little slalom, 1, 2 with my hips. Now I come back in here. Okay, lock it in. Make sure you don't actually pull on your toes. You're kind of grabbing in here like this. I lock this in nice and tight. And now from here, okay, as much as I want to choke him out, I'm not in a huge hurry. The biggest thing I don't want to do is to get stacked at this point, right? So in other words, if Bob goes to start to do that, right, I wiggle my way back and I keep him down there so my tailbone stays on the mat. Okay, he goes to kind of drive into me again, okay, I wiggle back. Now I'm in great shape, okay? My legs aren't going to burn out from here. He's got all the burden on him. And again, if I want to, he can't really do much to me. I can poke him in the eye. I can extend, okay, and start doing downward elbows, all that stuff, okay, hitting him until I feel that he does something crazy, right? He's moving around in there, good, good, kind of hitting, boom, boom, until the point that I can bring this through, okay, and really cinch it on and finish it, okay? So, out on the side. One motion, I'm going to go all the way slalom one way, then the other. So from here, this motion, okay, as I switch, I hold his head down. This motion clears my foot and shin from his arm. The other motion brings me back into a position to lock that triangle in. Okay, so last week, we were in closed guard mode, basically focusing on defending ourselves more than anything. And this week I'm going to get into, I'm starting off with if his head is down and I'm able to keep his posture broken. A lot of times this isn't like in sport jiu-jitsu that I broke his posture. This is that as he took me down, I instinctively wrapped my legs around for control. Is on the way down, his head's already down, he hasn't postured up, and I don't want him to posture up. Because as we talked about, middle range is bad. Okay, most of you are familiar with that. It's pretty much true in stand-up, as we talked about. It's also especially true on the ground because not only can he hit me and gravity's all on his side, power's on his side, but my head can also bounce off of this hard surface, not just, you know, get snapped back in the air. Okay, so bad all around. So if he takes me down and I can keep his head down, I want to do that right off the bat. So last week was all kind of defending punches and starting to tie him up and improve my position, getting out to the side with an overhook. Overhook control is great for posture control. This week I want to talk a little bit about still defending, but starting to open up my offense in here, okay, without going for any of the crazy submissions that will potentially put me in a bad situation. So in other words, is it possible to pull up an omoplata or pull off an omoplata in a real life self-defense situation? It is. But unless I'm using it specifically because he just gives me a big pathway or I create a big pathway and I know that I always have the option of kind of using it to pass his arm and take his back, it's not a great move because if he pulls his arm out, I'm in a terrible position, right? So there's certain things that just lend themselves better to self-defense than others. Chokes are great because, as you know, if you can pull off a choke and keep it nice and tight, not put yourself in danger, then it doesn't matter how tough the person is, their pain tolerance, if they're on some sort of, alcohol or drugs or something like that. You shut the lights off, they go to sleep, you can exit the situation, right? Or you can, empty a trash can on them and make them feel bad when they wake up, right? So from here, I'm still ready to bring my knees up, okay? Keep everything consolidated in here so if he does go to hit, okay, I can still intercept anything that's trying to come around and get my whizzer. But let's say he's just kind of holding on for dear life from here, or just kind of hitting my ribs. So what I'm going to do is take one hand here, and if I want to hit him, I don't want to hit him hard in the cranium because my hand is going to break. Okay, so I can always use open palm and smack him really hard, but if I do want to use my knuckle, what I do is I want to focus it all into one small area, so I'm going to go just big knuckle, strongest knuckle in there, bone structure wise, straight in his ear. So if you guys see what I'm doing in here, yep, get ready for this. Okay, so if you see what I'm doing in here, let's just go. I'm going to grab his head off on the side, okay? Not his actual neck, but the mandible here, like the edge of his jaw, right where it inserts behind his ear, okay? So I grab, so notice not just the back of his head, I let go, and I grab, and I pull, and that exposes his head on this side, and then I come all the way out, really dead arm, and I just go, bam, just drive that into his ear, okay? So that typically won't break my knuckle, and I'm kind of lining his ear up to take that punishment, and almost universally, this is what happens. Ow, maybe swearing at you a little bit, and then the hand comes up to defend. As the hand comes up to defend, I grab the wrist, and now watch, very small motion with my legs, I'm just gonna open just enough to come up and around this arm, okay? Boom, boom. And now from here, as I put the triangle position on, okay, the first thing I'm doing is just kind of locking in position and making sure that my hips stay on the mat. I'm pinching my legs, I'm curling my heels down, and I keep his head down. Everything right now is posture control. I do not want to be in a situation like start to stack me, okay, where I'm kind of doing this, my legs are open, and he throws my legs to the side and winds up on top of me doing that, right? So I've got his head down, I turn, I hit, okay, I draw that, grab, I know where his arm is, just come up and over from here, and now I make sure I'm hanging on his head and everything is compression. Suzanne Summers Thigh Master action and leg curl, okay? Now from here, yes, I can start doing all these types of things, but the main thing from here is I've got him locked in, and now I have the opportunity to work on a choke, and my hips stay flat, okay? If he does start to drive into me, as we talked about last week, I kind of keep him away, shoulder walk away, so I keep my hips flat, no stacking. And now from here again, I can hit, I can continue to hit, and then at any point that I want, if I'm not flexible enough to feed the triangle here just yet, I just wait to bridge. As I bridge up, I don't let his head up, I don't let go. I just push away, push the arms past, come back down, lock it in. Now from here, okay, so we go for our finish. Everybody in here knows a triangle, right? So I don't need to, you've done a triangle.
Yeah.
Okay, so take your time on that part. Some people can feed a triangle just like that. Like as your leg comes into play, it's already locked on, especially if you're very flexible or have long legs. But I want you guys to be able to do it slow and tight. And remember that you're protecting yourself first, and it's always position before submission, right? So part of my positioning here is the ability to give punishment. So if I need to open that up a little bit, find the right time, again, as long as he doesn't have friends coming to kick me in the head, I can do that, okay? So Do it one more time from the side. This way. So from here, okay, we land, I'm defending. I'm gonna grab right behind the jaw, turn, very loose. Don't actually obviously hit your partner in the ear with this, okay? Knuckle, knuckle, grab. Small motion, up and over, okay? And I hang on his head, pinching the thighs, curling the heels into him. If he tries to stack me or do anything similar like a stack, I shoulder walk back, I keep distance. Notice my hand never leaves his head. One hand always on the head, okay? From here, I can continue to hit. I can extend away and meet him with elbows, okay, different types. But what I'm looking for is the moment to extend past the arm, come in. Now his arm's trapped, he tries to get it back, can't do it. And I make a nice tight transition into the triangle for the finish, okay? All the way through. Highlight a couple things real quick. So, actually, let's go to this angle. First one. Okay. From here, come up and over. Make sure you're not rocked onto your side. That can be used against you for this corkscrew motion, okay? Kind of comes up and big guy, that probably pop your rib as you're in the process, plus he's on top of you and then he's gonna start wailing on you. So as I come over, I always adjust. Okay, one hand always on his head at least. So no matter what I'm doing in here, hitting, doing this, passing his arm, okay, always here and trying to keep my hips square and flat. Again, if he starts to kind of come up, like walking up with his legs, okay, I shoulder walk back, pull this in, try and make sure that I'm always keeping him away from me and set. Try and be anti-stack the whole time. That makes me much stronger mechanically, okay? So from here, if I do need to pass his arm, again, I may need to soften him up for a little bit, and then as he goes to brace against me, I don't try and push his wrist across, okay? I extend, make the space, but never let go of the posture control, and I go on the elbow, okay, here. So push that across now, we're good, okay? And again, I'll square myself up. And the last part is, make that shoulder disappear. So if you guys see this over here, let's say I got nice long legs, I have fairly long legs. Jake isn't massive, right? So I can lock that in, or grab, lock that in. The only thing is the shoulder's still there. I am in a fight, I've got adrenaline going, I don't want to burn out, I want him to burn out. I want him to get tired, and then let me put on the finishing touches to choke him out. So if I'm just squeezing in here, I may not do it, especially if he's a live wire, okay? So what I want to do at this point isn't go backwards, but I reach up, grab the shin nice and high, my arm takes the place of my leg. Now I can come back here, push off on his hip, adjust my angle, and as I come in here, look, no shoulder, I'm covering it. So I fully lock this in, and now I finish, okay? So just a couple things, you guys know that already from classes we've done over details on triangles, but that doesn't change from here. A lot of times people get so fixated on, oh, let me throw my leg over, and they think like it's a done deal from there. But again, somebody's gonna try and be driving into you, stacking you, grabbing your face, like hitting you, spazzing, like try and pick you up and drop you. So really discipline yourself on the positional maintenance. Take your time to get the choke. You're not making any big mistakes. If you see the opportunity, you can boom, boom, throw the leg in and choke him out like, in a few seconds, that's great. But be prepared to protect yourself first, not just think like sport, like it's going to be, oh, rapid fire, submissions. Make sure there's no mistake that's going to put your opponent on top of you in a position to do more damage. Make sense? Okay. One other thing, if the head is down, I'm going to go over with you guys, is some of you may have seen it before, popularly called the Sean Williams guard. So it's an overhook, but you don't just overhook your partner's arm, you're going to overhook your own leg. And the reason why I like this, from what I understand, like the rubber guard guys don't, like 10th Planet rubber guard guys don't really use this position because of a few reasons, don't need to get into it. But what I like about it is that it makes a rubber guard-ish type of a position available to people that aren't extremely flexible. So some people won't be able to do this, but most people can. Whereas with rubber guard, it's available to far fewer people because of flexibility issues. So my way of thinking of this is if you guys can do this stretch, okay, that you see in training, physical therapy, so on and so forth, this glute stretch where you can bring your stretch leg to 90 degrees, okay? If you can do this, you can do this going, right? It doesn't require me to be like able to pull myself way up and still apply a squeeze, which is very hard for a lot of people. Quite frankly, some people will never do it, okay? So if you can at least get to sort of that neutral position, you can pull this off. And this allows you to play off on your hip, even though you're kind of in this closed guard position once you get here. So let me show you how this works. Two ways to do this. One is on the takedown. People are very rarely in here hugging your hips and centered perfectly. On the takedown, okay, we kind of land, boom, like this in a scramble, and anytime I can pass his head off to the side, I'll go for this. Or, if I'm in here, okay, and again, kind of bring my knees up, I'm locking and squeezing, and I start doing this type of thing, right, soften him up a little bit, and now look, I just move his head offline one way or the other. As I do that, I never just focus on pushing to the side, as we talked about before. Anytime I do this, he can just pop his head what? Up. Now he's hitting me. So I'm always pushing to the side, moving myself, okay, not just moving him. I try and move myself more than him because I assume he's strong. But as I do it, I'm always keeping one hand on top. Okay, so see, push the side, see the hand is always checking. But once I do this, or once his head's offline because he fell a little bit askew, now I'm immediately going to go into that, basically that stretch position. So I'm going to bring my leg up and not just overhook his arm, I'm going to overhook my leg as well. And once I do this, I come into a gable grip. Do I see? So move his head offline, come up. Okay, so I hook, and then I grab, and then I just slide my forearm between me and him. So the beautiful part about this is that I've got the assist of my leg, and now once I come in here, boom, I'm holding that shoulder down. You have to be a strong man to pick somebody up at this point, okay? So he goes to pick me up from here, dump me, good. I can really weight him down, and I can last in here. Now the question is, how do I improve my position, okay? I'm not in a hurry again to go for that omoplata. That's not my first choice. So what I do from here while I'm holding him down is I'm just going to start extending my elbow into him. So you'll notice here that the arm that is up against his head, the palm is facing me. So I can more efficiently do that with my elbow. I can kind of raise it up and push away. Whereas if I'm like this, a little bit weaker, okay? So pull in on the shoulder to keep him down and push away, kind of up and away with that elbow. And now I start to take my time and see what he's doing. If he tries to pull this arm out to hit me, can't do it. If he tries to hit me with the other side, okay, he's got nothing, right? Try and reach my head. Nope. Kind of hit my body a little bit with no power, hit my shoulder, okay? Can't even really bite me from here. It's not good for him. And meanwhile, I'm just kind of chilling. Now what happens here is that if somebody is holding on to me tight, I'm going to be able to very easily work up incrementally, and put them in a nasty arm bar and break their arm. And even then, if he still wants to fight, you know, I still have good position. The arm bar doesn't like, he breaks his arm and now he's out, right? I still have him locked in. And then we can also go for chokes and things here. But the first thing I want you guys to get is just to here. So again, when I'm in here, pull my legs up, holding him down, head down. I'm going to move off to the side, underhook. Okay, so over his arm, under my leg. Palm to palm grip, palm against his head, or arm against his head, his palm facing me. So I pull him in, hold him down, and then I start to lift away. Okay, that's as far as we're going to lift. All right, so now let's go into, I'll show you the arm bar. If somebody wants to continue to hug you, like you just have a death grip on your body, this is perfect. Okay, so here. All right, so I move the head off line. Do not let him sit up as I do it. Overhook, come in, and now while holding down that shoulder, I start to, okay? Now he's hugging me with both arms really tight. Okay,
Okay, swearing everything. What I don't want to do here is rush it and rock too far onto my side, because what that does is if I get all the way on my side and now I start to rush it, open my leg up to armbar him from here, he just pushes that down, he slides through. And even if he doesn't know jiu-jitsu, he still might be able to make that work just on aggression. So a couple things in here is as I hold him down, I'm more lifting his head than I am rocking all the way on my side. But what this does allow you to do is to play at a slight angle, which helps you with the flexibility, right? So I just want to make sure that you're not doing this. As I said to Jake before, if all I wanted to do was set up an omoplata, I could fall to my side here and that'd be no problem. But right here, I'm looking to stay a little more squared because the omoplata is down the line of things that I would take as an option right now. And we're in a fight, so I want to have a little more control. So slightly on my side, but still probably right about here is the max, okay? So I do the work instead with this elbow. And again, if Jake's really hugging me like this, what I do is, okay, keep kind of driving into me. Good. Hugging. Good. So I start to come up little bit by little bit. See little climbs, taking my time. And once I find that my knee has come up over his shoulder, and I can lock this in, that's the sweet spot. See, it kind of catches. See how my leg just didn't fall off that time? Meanwhile, I'm taking no damage. Again, try and hit me. You can't, okay? Once I feel this, now from here it's easy. So I'm in here nice and tight. Don't rock too far on your side. Keep feeding, and I climb. Climb, until I feel that lock in, and my leg doesn't slip off of his shoulder. Hands unlock, grab his shoulder, and now from here, lift. Super tight. Go slow on that too, because you'll mess with your partner's shoulder pretty easily. Bob, can I grab real quick? I'm just going to switch angles. So you can see the hand on the other side. So I move Bob offline, grab him here. Again, rock not too far into my side. I'm assuming he's hugging me with both arms for this one, okay? And he's kind of driving back into me. If you push the head away, so try and center yourself. Yeah. So if you push the head away, people are going to try and right themselves. That's why the forearm is important for a brace. So now I climb. Okay, hug tight. Good. I climb, and I come up and over. Now on this side, okay, my hand just grabs his shoulder. Okay, very small travel, and now I lift. Okay? So, remember, once somebody talked about this type of motion of climbing the back, almost like you have the ice climbers that have like the picks in them. So you're like, that's what I want you to think. Don't rush this. Okay? So from here, again, if I can do this, I can get this. So if you rock too far on your side, you'll kill it. And if I just try and bring my legs up and throw them over, I'll probably keep sliding off his shoulder. So instead, I keep moving his head up and away with my elbow while holding him down, and I keep climbing. Now, if your partner's arm comes away from your body, it's going to be too wide of an angle to come around unless your legs are like really, really long and flexible. So what I want you to do as your partner's doing this to you is to just, even though your head's offline, to just hug them really tight. Like the person just has a death grip on you and won't let go. Okay, they're going like, I'm gonna kill you. And you're just like, okay, man, I'm just gonna keep climbing. And once you have that, you're in good shape. And what happens? Let's say you bridge your hips. You jack their arm up, break it, or you don't, because their arms are this big around or something, and it's not quite there. At the end of the day, are you in a bad position? No. You still have them locked into this. You're still protected, okay? So that's the idea.